WWE, AEW, TNA, NWA, NXT. Who is the better women's wrestling? What do you think the state of wrestling in women's wrestling is in the world right now? Stay tuned. We're going to chat about it.
Welcome to the No Shave Man Cave. This is our State of Women's Wrestling episode. In this episode, there will be no time limits, just like in Lucha Libre. See what I did there? We're just going to talk about what we think it's this moment in women's wrestling. With me today, I have Elier, JT Lee, and Justin Outlaw. Introduce yourself, guys. Elier goes first.
You're going to go? No, I'll go first. I'm the Outlaw. At Justin Harvey 75. Find me on social medias. And I love women's wrestling, so I'm very excited about this topic. And I'll pass the mic.
All right, I'm Jay Tilley from No Shave Man Cave, where you're watching us now. Please make sure you like, share, subscribe, check us out. I agree. I love women's wrestling, but I think we should be able to take the women's part out of it and just call it wrestling. But we'll get into all that.
Hell yeah. I'm Elier, and I'm a fan of everything but blood in my wrestling. That's all I got.
All right, my name is Toni Allen. I am an editor, and apparently I have 15 different jobs. All right, guys. We all love wrestling that has women on it. Is that better? Is that better for you?
There you go.
Yeah. All right. And we would just like right now, because of a lot of things that are happening. We just had a show moments ago talking about a lot of or unfiltered and unshaved show. You should check it out. And a lot of the topics were women's wrestling, and that is because I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think the most over storyline right now it's a woman's storyline. So it keeps rebuilding and it keeps evolving and changing, and that is Toni Storm.
Dude, absolutely. I mean, can anybody at this point in time deny that Toni Storm is the biggest storyline in AEW? I mean, I think they were wise to put her on the last couple of weeks. I mean, even though 2 weeks ago it was her run-in, but it was her segment for the night that headlined. And then this past week it was her match that headlined and elevated 3 other excellent women along the way. And the audience isn't saying women's wrestling, this, that, or other thing. They're saying they're coming to these events and they're saying Toni Storm is the star that I want to see, or a star that I want to see. And then if she is one of the stars that's in the headlining match, there's no question about it. Just like, okay, Randy Orton might not be always in the top program, but the second you see him in one, you're not questioning it. You're like, oh, it's Randy Orton. I think Toni Storm has just recently, with her pay-per-view match with Mariah, I think she elevated herself to, I would totally agree with her being in the main event at any point in time now. And I don't know that there's been a lot of women that have gotten to that level in the business ever.
Well, and I'll even say that I think the women's title in AEW right now is way more important than any other title in that company right now. I'm more driven by what's happening with her owning that belt and where they're going to go with it. Who's going to beat her, what the storyline's going to be, than I am anything the Death Riders were doing with Moxley. Mercedes Moné is got a title. She's got a bunch of them, but still not bought in because she's not have. I will say the Billy Starks Athena stuff could work out. I know she's going to be on Collision on Saturday, so that we might start seeing some stories build there, which is great. But yeah, I mean, her title, that women's title, is the title in wrestling. And I would even say I'm more drawn to what's going on in that story than I am on some of the stories in WWE right now with even Cody and John Cena. Because we all kind of know that story's laid out, right? We know they're going to have WrestleMania. And, you know, we kind of can figure out what's going to happen. But this Toni one, I don't know. I mean, I imagine she'll beat Megan Bayne, but I'm more invested in what her story is going to be on continuing on. And I think that's a big deal.
And when you're sitting there and you're watching your wrestlers and your sports entertainers evolve, one of the best ones to do it, or worst ones, depending on how you look at it, has been Chris Jericho. Just as you start thinking, oh, we have a Chris Jericho problem, he's able to flip the script and he comes out with a new iteration of himself and, whatever. You look at what John Cena is doing and how he has rolled back and talked about little things over the last 25 years. Well, just think over the last 18 months what has happened in wrestling and the development of the Toni Storm character, all the way to when she's laying face down and she's like, "You think I don't remember?" Oh my, I just get goosebumps just talking about it. Whoa. And, they're not chanting, "This is awesome women's wrestling," or "Fight Forever Women." They're saying, "This is awesome, fight forever." And I think women's wrestling in general across the board is very, very strong. You have, even in GCW, a lot of the women from different rosters are going down to GCW. You have 3 wrestlers from WWE that are going to be in a GCW show and a Bloodsport show. And like you said, Megan Bain has developed and gotten a lot of screen time. Just to see the character development of Thunder Rosa over the last month or so, I didn't realize she was so freaking funny other until the last couple of promos, and she's over there. She's like, "No, dude, it's because you got Toni Storm over there, Thunder Tits." So, yeah, I think women's wrestling is in great shape. I hope everybody's taking notes in the locker room, and when they bring a new wrestler in, they're like, "Okay, hey, because like what Outlaw was saying earlier, there isn't as much hazing in the locker rooms, if any, and that definitely bodes well because that's sort of what led Toni out of the WWE.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. It's like the last thing we saw her in the WWE was getting cream pied, by Charlotte Flair. Yeah, literally. And now she's on a pay-per-view where I would put her match up there with Kenny Omega's and Will Ospreay's as probably those 3 matches on that pay-per-view card are equal to me. Like, I can't tell you which one I enjoyed more or liked more. Those 3 matches were right there.
See, one of the things that brings to mind for me is the respect for some of the women that came out of the bra and panties era, that came from the puppies era of wrestling. And I want to see them get some of the things that they deserve to. Victoria, Lisa Marie, was one of the first people that I ever got an autograph from of any kind.
Me too.
And I just love her to death. And she gets a little bit of respect, but then there's other wrestlers like Melina, who is a phenomenal performer and dealt with so much crap during that era, but was an actual athlete and great performer. And they never really got their flowers to a certain extent. But these are the women that I hope we see start to come back now. I want to see them as the agents and the coaches and producers backstage, because as much as I think people like us completely understand wrestling and whatnot, I don't know that we should be writing their spots, that we should be writing their stuff anymore, that we should be determining the level of sexiness in women's wrestling. Yes, we're the fans, we're where the dollars come from, and you have to appease us to a certain extent. But I also am really hoping that the veteran women out there can bring something back to the business and get a chance now to influence the business in a way that they see it moving forward. Because I think WWE has a problem right now where there's too many white men writing the women in WWE right now, and they're not getting a chance to write themselves. They don't have the female agents. They don't have the female writers over there. They don't have the agency over what they're doing. And I think it's hurting that particular roster, where at a time when women's wrestling really has evolved, the evolution has happened, and it has gone to the next level. So I'm hoping that we can see stuff like that, and maybe Gail Kim shows up over there. Maybe she shows up.
Bring her up.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think that was the whole point, right? That was the whole point, that when they walked out, was it Mercedes and Naomi walked out is because of that same situation that you're mentioning, that there is no representation in the other side of the the product. Like, you have to have producers that understand, and this is something that sometimes you have to deal with, especially either when it's women or when there is minorities. There has to be a sensibility of what you are working with, and that is an absolute problem. But I want to bring kind of a. I like to ground wrestling in pop culture as much as things that have happened in the past, so that there is a point of connection, like a reflection. Do you guys think that not having Toni Storm main event Revolution and the backlash, hold on, and the backlash that created, right? Because we talked about before in other episodes about that they did a retcon on the on a Dynamite, right? I think that the fact that it was so over, that it was so that match at Revolution with Mariah was so iconic, I'm gonna call it. It was so great. It was a culmination of a really amazing storyline.
Yep.
I felt that, there's this moment in hip hop that when Kanye outsells 50 Cent, is like 2007, and that's when it was hardcore, like gangster rap was died that moment, right?
Yep.
Do you think this is the same kind of break regarding how much we care about, like, the men's the world championship, the AW world championship, which we call the men's world championship, just to make it even like a more of a point that what would they have the women's, well, we'll just call the men's world championship, right? I think that we can even say that now, because the women's world championship with Toni Storm, it's so important that it's now the main championship, because we have not even seen the other one, because the storyline is so weird and so crooked and so whatever. I know I'm getting Elier right a lap here, but you guys think that this is the breaking moment when?
Yeah, but I got to say this real quick about that point. Moxley aside, because yes, we can all agree that the Moxley storyline hasn't gone exactly the way you wanted. Whatever level you're at of that, I haven't heard a single person say that it's gone great. Okay, so clearly it hasn't gone well. But I would say that even if we were in the height of the MJF face turn championship, that
Right.
Toni Storm right now would rival that.
Yep.
I would still put her possibly, depending on the storylines, above that story. And it just depends on the crowd reaction, the emotion that it's creating in the fans, the money that it's driving to pay-per-views and seats and people and putting asses in seats. I think she is legitimately on that level now, even in competition with a good storyline. Moxley is an easy win.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. It's unfair.
I would say even compare her to the Kenny Omega Moxley run, because that was a great storyline too. And I would almost agree, like, this is right up there with it. Whether it's a turning point or not, it depends on how AEW handles it going forward. So if, let's say, she loses the title or keeps the title, whatever they do with it in the next 6 months, that's going to determine whether there's a turning point. Because if they turn the title over to, let's say, Megan Bain, I don't think they will, but let's just say,
oh God knows,
now she just goes to the way of all the other women wrestling has gone in AEW in the past. You're going to probably get a little backlash, but that's going to show that, like, hey, we don't really care. This is just a fluke, a flash in the pan. I think if they're smart, they're going to let Toni become kind of that producer in the backstage for some of these stuff going forward, or whoever's like helping run that storyline and everything right now. I think it's RJ City. Yeah, like, give that dude more control. I know we just said no white dudes, but he's doing a hell of a job right now with the women's wrestling. But personally, I don't know the guy. I think it's more that, like what I said, I think he just looks at it as a wrestling storyline.
Yep.
I don't get the feeling that he's like, well, she's jealous because she interfered in her match and it's a girls can't be happy and friends. I think he's just writing a good wrestling story. Yep. And that's what needs to happen, is just write good wrestling. Don't write it because they're females.
He's got the agents or the characters, or he's got whatever lined up, and he goes, okay, this is what we're going to do with this storyline. This is what we're going to do with this storyline. This is how we're going to book this match for the storyline. And you can kind of see a little bit of that in NXT, depending on, the weekend or whatever. NXT has super green performers. Evolve has super green performers. And
even greener, yeah.
They're letting the matches tell the story, and then they have their little vignettes, and then they're using social media. when you look at some of the funniest people on social media, Nyla Rose, Nia Jax is freaking hilarious, super dangerous in the ring, but very funny on social media. Matt Cardona and Chelsea Green, the two of them. I mean, if we were able to continue to bring all of that in, Zelina Vega, very active on social media. But if, like what we were saying before, if we don't give the representation in the ring the proper foothold, and we used to, JT and I, we used to go, all right, what's the over under on what spot in the show? And we'd be like, an hour and 36 minutes, they'll get 7 minutes in.
Yeah.
But now here they are, they're getting, backstage segments, they're getting vignettes, they're getting a couple of mid-card matches. Now we have mid-card titles, and now we have women main eventing in AEW. And I mean, I can't even imagine, like, I would have never thought that, 2 years ago with, just the state of AEW. But now here's Toni Storm, and you talk about wrestlers making titles, titles making wrestlers, and then wrestlers elevating other wrestlers. Everybody wins, even though you were looking at the lights for 3 seconds. That's the kind of stuff that they're doing with the Toni Storm stuff. That's the kind of stuff they were doing with Rhea Ripley for a little while, and she's kind of on the back burner a little bit. And then someone just mentioned Naomi. This handle with caution and all that character that she has going on right now, bro. She's about to start printing money, and
it's lights out.
Man, it was. Did you watch the vignette that she did last night?
Amazing. Naomi deserves all the flowers. I feel like she is one of the best female performers. Yeah. I gotta harken back real quick to these key moments, I think, that got us to where we are, because I think it's important, because those moments need to be bolstered and repeated to get away from what Vince thinks a woman should do in a wrestling ring, or what the Mexican promoters think a woman should do in the wrestling ring. Because I think that the Mexican promoters and Vince combined are the biggest detriment to women's wrestling.
Yeah, that's a strong point. I didn't even... That's strong.
It is, and that's part of where we got to, and you have to know the enemy to know what you're fighting against to make the next improvement. But you have good things, like you have RJ City and Shawn Michaels, two people that understand how to listen to. Shawn Michaels is not any better at knowing what black people like or what women like or this, that, and the other thing. But from what I understand, Shawn Michaels has been very good at listening. So his minority talent at NXT shines because he's down for the culture, not because he's part of it or because he even understands it, but because he listens to it and then lets that become part of the storyline. RJ City, I don't know why. I couldn't tell you. He is very in tune with the women in that women's division. He knows how to write for Mariah. He knows how to write for Toni. He knows how to write for Harley Cameron. He knows how to write for Thunder Rosa. He's done great stuff with all of them. For some reason, he gets it because he's listening to their feedback and he's figuring out how to incorporate it into storylines. One of the other big things, of course, was the women's revolution in WWE, where they all took the ball and they're like, bra and panties, puppies. Nah, bro. Come on. We can actually go. Let us wrestle. And then you have the other key factor, which I'll go back to, is when women have agency over themselves, and that is Gail Kim. Gail Kim was the first big time running any major company's women's division, storyline producer kind of person. She was very pivotal in that role. And other women have done it. I don't want to take anything away from them, but Gail Kim really solidified it as a safe space for women to fight for their stories, and she made them fight for it. Don't think that she was a pushover on anybody. Gail's a tough individual, but she's always fair, and if you could fight for a reason to do something, she would give it up to you and make sure and hone it. And then the last part of that is Britt and Thunder. What they did in getting the recognition of the smart marks to make them the match of the year is absolutely ridiculous, the leaps and bounds that made for women's wrestling. And I don't think people realize how big that was. No one had ever voted a women's match above the men's matches like that. Even if it had come in number 5 that year, do you know how big that would be? Let alone number 1? Are you kidding me? That changed the ball game. Changed it. And if we can get some of those moments to repeat, the moment that I'm looking for AEW has come very close where they had 3 women's matches and 3 men's matches on a night, and nobody thought twice about it. If we get to the point where there's 4 women's matches and 3 men's matches and nobody finds it odd, the women's wrestling will have finally succeeded and be where it should be. That needs to happen with nobody thinking twice about it.
You know, you brought up the Britt Baker and Thunder match. That was one of the things I was going to harken back to myself. Is I compare the Mariah May Toni Storm match to that match. I think it was another one of those pivotal matches. But that goes to my point, though, is we've got to keep building on it, right? Because we had that amazing match with Thunder and Britt, and then we went right back to the champion of the week in AEW, or no women for 3, you know. So, like, as long as they keep building on it, and I totally think that there's a potential that Mariah May Toni could be match of the year again, and another women match could take that title, because that match was amazing. And you know, we're talking about Toni, we got to give it up to Mariah May too, because if it wasn't for Mariah May, Toni Storm's story wouldn't have been as great as it is. So, like, yes, Toni gets a lot of credit, but Mariah should be getting a lot of that credit too. And just in general, that whole storyline. As long as they keep building on it, that's what I got to say.
And they got to keep them going. I can't stand Becky Lynch, but Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus in that cage blew my mind. It was an amazing match.
Yeah, getting, and this would be a good part where, you know, look at who Saraya or Paige went against in the WWE, and if they're locked up in a blood feud of some form or fashion, that would be a good point to insert Paige back into the WWE. Or you look at Athena. How do you use Athena in a more effective manner? She's the forever champion. She's got a new Ring of Honor women's world title, and just doing big things, developing all the wrestlers down on Ring of Honor. And not just women's wrestlers either are going to meet up with her, because some of them, her move set and some of the things during her training, and you know, while she was with WWE, and then she got injured at WWE, so she spent like 9 months at the Performance Center. So she brought all that knowledge to Ring of Honor, and you wonder why, you know, she's just, you know, racking and stacking over at Ring of Honor. She probably likes the schedule. Otherwise, I think she'd be a main roster player, big player in all wrestling across the board. We talk about significant matches, significant events, things that women did and are doing so much better than, you know, Trish being put through a table, or when we were watching Lana got put through the table 8 weeks in a row from Nia Jax. And, you know, you'd sit and listen to Dave LaGreca on Busted Open, and every week, I think the guy's name was Art, and he'd call in and be like, poor Lana. And it was just like, you know, and just like RJ City, I'm sitting here reading his lineage, and he started training as a wrestler, went through the grind on the indies, wrestled in Canada, all throughout the Northeast, and now here he is. He did some production for the WWE, and now he's, you know, just amazing. Him and Renee with AEW, I think, is freaking awesome. But like the Outlaw and JT said, okay, cool. We had one match of the year, and I would say one of the best women's matches period, when TR won the championship. But what did we do? We kind of toiled and had some new toys and things. Well, now AEW's roster is stacked. NXT's roster is stacked. WWE has a roster that they're not utilizing, you know, based on their skill sets and ability or inability to communicate on a mic in front of 10 people, let alone 15,000. So we'll see what happens. But I have faith. I'm pushing the I believe button, because AEW on Wednesday knocked it out of the park, and I'm just praying to the wrestling gods that we're going to do it again tonight, and so on and so on. So
for those watching today, we're doing this on a Saturday, so we're hoping that Collision is amazing. Fingers crossed.
I will be there live. I will report back.
Yes, please.
Yes,
with all this in mind, I think that I think I would like to make this next part of the conversation about how much a moment with all the added elements of the Toni Storm character with the storyline, how much does that affect the rest of wrestling in general? Because now you have WWE trying to, like, I know we mentioned this in the previous show that people should go and watch, but you had Stephanie Baker open and close the show, so that you're trying to build this. I mean, of course, wrestling wise, she is really good. That's why when she was at AEW, he got taken out of the immediately because she's really good. So of course you're gonna have the the really good matches, and then one good match to open. I know if we're gonna critique, I would not have opened with the
main title,
with the main title, because then I was like, yeah, well, I'll get to that.
I think it was intentional to try to swerve us into thinking she was going to drop the lesser title, which I did, and I was like, oh, but then after she didn't, it was kind of genius.
No, but but my larger point, because yes, that will be a critique. Well, is, are we going to see as the Toni Storm and the storyline grows, and if we add, Thunder Rosa touching the belt and being like, hey, what the was, we're gonna grow this. How much is it going to affect the need for for other companies to match this? Because if it grows into a frenzy, right, it's gonna draw more ball eyes to eyeballs to the show, and they're gonna be like, oh well, we gotta do something like that. And evidently WWE is looking at it that way, and they're trying to like match, or even in a different way, because Toni Storm, it's a character development and then the match. And right now, Stephanie, it's like amazing wrestling twice a night. So do you guys think that this is going to really create that change that we're looking for, and have those 4 matches that you're asking? Because that would be a good thing. Everybody, oh wait, that was 4 matches, we didn't realize that. You guys think that that's how this is gonna play out, or is this again, flash in the pan, and then after Toni Storm loses the title or whatever, then we're gonna go back to whatever? Is he gonna force both of them?
So this is a copycat world, right? So the NFL, the Wildcat offense, then we had the pistol, then we had, the huge corners and huge wide receivers like in Seattle, and, those things. So I think every week everyone is watching each other, and, a lot of the wrestlers and the sports entertainers admit, I was watching WrestleMania, I was watching Evolution, I was watching whatever show, I was totally blown away. Or, did Rhea get punished, yes or no, because she was on TV at a AEW show in Australia? Yes, no, maybe so. She's not the champion anymore. Write that down. But what I think is important is, if plagiarism is a form of flattery,
well, it's illegal, but sure.
We still have to we still have to have like nuance changes, and we can't pick a wrestler over in WWE that could potentially carry that type of character work that Toni's doing. I don't think outside of Chelsea Green, I don't think there's anybody else that could potentially do the work that Toni has done over the last, not even year, like 2 or 3 years. And the fact that she resurrected herself to become, she's what, a 3 or 4 time world champion now over in AEW. And like, is this, so the question is this going to be a good thing? Are we going to continue to build? And are all the other wrestling companies, do they all have their eyes on each other? Absolutely. And everybody everyone is chasing what Toni Storm is doing, and you look at how Tessa Blanchard over in TNA is trying to like stoke the coals and upset the crowd. Probably won't work, but I'll push the I believe button and wait and see what's going to happen. WWE, they're waiting to bring Becky back out to stir the pot with everything. But in the meantime, you have Naomi, who I think has strong potential to do a like storyline. But yeah, it's incredible, and I think Toni Storm and the work she's doing right now will set the bar for women's wrestling, for wrestling period, for the next couple of years, because this is unbelievable.
Let me say this real quick. Just I think the problem is it's a bigger, better, faster, more kind of thing, and you can only have a couple of them. Because the problem is I need to care about more things at WWE in the women's divisions right now. Right now, I care about Naomi and Chelsea. I don't even care about their title pictures over there on the main roster. And you got two things. So you can't have 4 women's matches if I've got 2 people to care about. We need more of those things. AEW, we've got Toni. I'm digging her stuff. I dig Willow a little bit. There can maybe always be something with Sasha or Mercedes. Like, you've got some options there. You've got some players, but we need more of them elevated, and they need some current and hot storylines. Over in TNA, we've got good stuff going on with Masha. We've got some good stuff going on with Tessa. We've got some potential there. In NXT, oh my goodness. Are you kidding me? There are 18 women over there that I will watch headline any night of the week. They have the biggest potential to do it overall right now. They can do an episode tomorrow that has not a single man on that roster, and I would not notice.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Even with Ricky and Ethan and Shawn and Oba and Trick, if all of those guys who are equally as good as these top women, but if all of them just weren't on an episode and you gave me, Kalani and JCJ and Stephanie Vaquer and it's just endless. It's
Luca.
Endless. It's crazy.
And then, and then we have a little nugget of Stephanie's place on ESPN and ESPN Plus. I mean,
which also, by the way, means WWE just got into bed with Disney. As if they didn't have enough partners.
Wow. Well, but also AEW has got, because now they're in Australia and all the Pacific Ocean, whatever. But
yeah, because Disney is included in the HBO Max plan now, if you do it that way.
Yes. So yeah, it's all gonna get merged at one point. We are gonna have Taco Bell kind of level of in Demolition Man. In Demolition Man,
basically just got rid of the cable carriers as a middleman. Is all they did. Yeah. They get more of their own money now.
Yeah. But also, do we have this situation? Well, I when you guys were speaking, I was like, is this gonna happen? Is it gonna happen? What happened with the NBA? That now everybody shoots 3. Yeah. Everybody shoots 3s now. So what is?
Well, here's the question though for you, Tony. It's like, isn't that fine if you like the 3-point shot? If you like that outside game? There's a lot of people that still love the NBA. I am not one of them.
Yeah,
I don't like that. I don't like that version of the game, but maybe that version of the game has passed me by. And maybe if you go to a women's wrestling heavy thing, maybe a lot of the older misogynistic crowds, or maybe some of the Latino crowds who have traditionally not gravitated towards women's wrestling,
they have not cared. Let's
maybe you lose them, and maybe that is a problem. Not for me.
I think the biggest thing is, this is wrestling, right? So they're all copying each other. That's how they improve. I mean, I always bring it up. Look at what WWE did when AEW came around. Like, oh shit, that's bringing eyes to products. We need to adjust, and they adjusted. So that's what all this is going to do too. Is like, okay, women's wrestling, this is adjusting. We need to adjust too, and it's going to spread everywhere. So I think it's good as long as they keep the momentum going. That's my biggest thing. Is I don't want it to go, man, this is great, and then And even if it's okay, the Toni Storm thing falls aside, build a hell of a program between Athena and Mercedes Moné. Like, you could build a really good program that, next year we're sitting here talking about, oh my God, like Toni Storm just rolled right into this Mercedes Moné story with Athena, and it's just as good, and they're putting on just as good matches. So it's just a matter of making sure that we keep doing that, because the women put the work in the ring. I'm sorry, they do. Like, every time I see most of these women in the ring, it's really, really good. And that part will take care of itself. We just need the storylines to get there. We need people to buy into it and to respect it. I've noticed when you watch AEW now, when a women match come on, not everybody's getting up and going to the bathroom. And I will tell you from all the shows I used to go to, that's when it used to happen.
Yeah.
Oh, the women are on. It's time to go to the bathroom. Or I'm going to go check my phone. Now you don't see that. You know, you see it during the Jericho segment.
I was going to say, that's the Jericho segment.
Well, now we're also on the heels here, or on the cusp of about to get a AEW or a WWE announcement for an all women's PLE. So there's going to be another version of Evolution, and they're shooting for the 4th of July weekend in Connecticut. So
I got a proposition for WWE. Just make NXT a women's show and make Evolve a men's show and not a competition, and just have 2 minor league rosters that are split at this point. Why not?
Well, yeah, because I don't even watch I could not. I mean,
but make
love to Ethan and love to Ricky, but I just don't care about the men's and NXT. I don't watch it at all.
What just said is the solution. Remember, AEW comes into the fold, and all of a sudden Vince is getting pushed out. Triple H has to revamp some things. So what happens if you have 2 NXTs, 1 male roster, 1 female roster? They're going to have to compete against each other. Iron sharpens iron.
Yep.
It won't even be AEW as the competition. It won't be TNA as the competition. It'll be the other brand down the hall as the competition. And all of a sudden, the women are on the same level. And then the guys are looking around like, oh, my God, this happened on our watch. Now we have to step it up.
Well, and then what you'll have is you'll have AEW come up with an all-women show. And then they'll compete with the other. And, like, that would be huge.
Just make ROH the women's show. I mean,
it's a distributor.
But,
like the other thing too, though, is
I was going to say the fact that suddenly, really quickly, WWE is saying, "Oh, we're going to do an all women's pay per view," tells you that the Toni Storm stuff is catching on, and people are going talking about it because literally 2 weeks ago it wouldn't even come up, and now suddenly, oh yeah, look what we're doing women's stuff right here,
and they're gonna shit a PLE just like that, and I say just like that because it's damn April, and they're gonna put together a PLE in Connecticut in 4 months or whatever.
Okay, but this is the
time, whatever.
This is the problem with that. They're gonna, like you said, they're gonna shit a PLE. But if there is no structure, there is no story, there is no consequences, there is no aftermath, there is no then what the fuck? Why? They're just doing something to outpace the other company and not something to set up a better product.
They're just trying to get through.
I know, I understand.
Get through Mania.
No, I understand you have to start somewhere. I understand you have to start somewhere. But to my point is that yes, but you start that in the Evolution version first that you did like a whole bunch of years ago. That was supposed to be your setup. Now you're supposed to have something that is solid and that it continues to do it, because otherwise you're just using it to outpace the other company, and then you just make sure that you do enough, and then you go back to what you were doing, and then you push Cena 3.0 again and stuff like that. So
this is not the same company anymore. This is an expansion team. This is a new thing. This is like the Browns leaving and going to Baltimore and then becoming an expansion team and building over again. Vince is gone. TKO is in charge. It's a whole new thing. They were not responsible for the previous Revolution. They had nothing to do with it. That happened on Vince's watch, don't forget. He was still there. That was the old man finally going, all right, you can have a regular belt and have regular matches. Fine. I guess it's time. Same way Dana White did it in the UFC. And I'm here to tell you, when Dana White did it, Dana White will be the first one to tell you, damn, dude, I was wrong. Because that women's division came in excited. Guess what? They weren't as good. They hadn't gotten the reps. The disparagement and skill level was all over the place. And guess what that made for? The best 3 years of a sport you could ask for. Watching those women develop their own sport and their own divisions in the UFC was amazing. And yes, Ronda was clearly head and tails above all of them. But all these women fought for years to figure out how to beat her. And once they did, the parody was gone. It was just like, bam, oh my God. Now we have this incredible thing that means we can add a whole nother show on ESPN. That means we can expand this. We can have more pay-per-views. We can have more headliners, more stars, and these women absolutely deserve it. And then they started headlining over there. There's no reason it can't be that way in wrestling. We've seen now that the skill level has caught up. And my personal hope is I want to go even beyond the 4 women's matches to the 3 men's matches on a show. I would love to see it be like Lucha Underground. I would love to see the heavyweight champ belt just be a heavyweight champ belt.
Yes.
And if a woman wants to come and fight for it, in wrestling, it's the one place where she can. And if the suspension of disbelief is already there. We're already watching people fake punch and fake hit each other to a certain extent.
Use the F word. We don't use the F word.
It's still real to me.
Choreographed punch and choreographed hit.
Thank you predetermined punching.
No.
And
predetermined punching. That sounds
predetermined punching.
Convoluted.
But at the same time,
I've been advocating.
Why not?
Go ahead.
Why not?
Yeah, I've been advocating for that forever. Like, and I know it's a network thing, but now that you're going to streaming, why not? I've always said the intergender wrestling is great. I mean, look at some of the stuff Kenny Omega did with Rio overseas. Like, some of their matches were great, and it's intergender, and it's good stuff.
Okay.
GCW is doing intergender stuff.
Yeah,
we have
and we should
one of my favorite matches.
Get a couple of matches every now and then, or maybe you get a 24/7 type like belt or a hard.
My favorite Thunder Rosa match is against Toni Deppen. That match, if that match had happened in a bigger platform, it would have that is insane. That is an insane match. What they did. My God! And then
there's several of them. Brian Cage versus Taya in Lucha Underground. Nobody was thinking of that as a woman in a match. They weren't. I was in the room.
Penta and Chelsea Green.
We did think about it a little bit differently.
One of my top 3 favorite matches.
But it is a great match. When the Japanese girls came in with Penta also.
Yeah.
But it happened all the time in Lucha Underground. But then also the women could fight each other and it was fine. Like you just didn't think about it. Thunder Rosa, again, was in a trios.
Yep.
Was a trios tag team match.
Yes.
All the other trios were dudes.
Yep.
No one thought about it like it was weird. It's like she's the queen of these reptiles, and they fight, and they are fighting reptiles. And
that setup. There's the queen of these reptiles. So
they're gonna fight these dudes right now. They're gonna fight the Hollywood guy, whatever.
Yes.
It was fine.
I think the bottom line, though, right now, in the state we are right now, is that WWE needs to prove it with this all women's pay-per-view. Right? Prove that you're gonna continue on this thing. And to be honest with you, AEW is at a proving point. Make the women's Owen Hart feel as important as they're trying to make the men's Owen Hart feel right now.
Right.
Because the men's Owen Hart has got stakes to it. You get a title shot, and there's really big stars in it. And they need to do the same thing for the women's side and not just throw in random people and not do anything. They need to do the same thing and start building the women's Owen Hart to be as impactful. To me, if those two things happen in both companies, you're proving it. You're proving that you're taking that step to it's just wrestling and it's 2 different divisions. It's not necessarily.
You don't want it to be a Britt Baker Adam Cole tribute belt this year?
I do not want it to be a Britt Baker Adam Cole tribute belt.
So you had the Mae Young Classic.
Yeah.
And you had it in the past, and that was freaking.
And look at the names that were in that first one.
That's what I was going to say.
Holy crap.
Like, you look at the who's who of professional wrestling that came out of Lucha Underground. You look at the who's who of professional wrestling that were in the first couple of Mae Young Classic tournaments. And now we have the WWE ID. They're going around the indies. They're, they've got a title. They've got cash that they're throwing at, some of the performers and stuff. And, Stephanie McMahon, she's on ESPN Plus. They're talking about pay-per-views. NWA had an all-women's pay-per-view thanks to Mickie James, who eventually will be a WWE Hall of Famer. And it's just like, why we keep hearing, the first ever this, the first ever that. It should just be a champion is crowned, and here we are. Are we going to have a king and queen of the ring? We'll always have the king and queen of the ring. But when we did the mixed matchup championships, and you had the mixed tag teams in WWE, it was funny, and they did a lot of stuff on social media. But like I think El Edidor was saying, if you're going to do this PLE all women, there needs to be a build-up. There needs to be a reason. There needs to be a result and then a fallout. So what's the most exciting night of the year? Well, there's like 3: main event night 1, main event night 2, and then the Monday after WrestleMania, the Monday Night Raw. What is that going to look like? And that's what WWE is going to have to prove. That's what AEW is going to have to continue to do. And based on Wednesday, my faith in AEW is completely changed, and I'm just going to keep pushing the I believe button because I think they can do it. And
where do you think Toni Storm falls on the All In card? Answers that question on the AEW side for me.
Oh wow!
What do you think is what female star gets a big spot on the Raw after Mania, or how many female stars get spots on the Raw after Mania? That open mics.
Oh, one's tough.
Yeah.
Is that there's a lot of build up to a lot of really that card, but that's good though, right? That should be tough. I shouldn't be. Oh, she'll be an opener. I should have to go. Ooh, are they going to put her at the main event, or Kenny Omega and Okada at the main event, or Hangman and Storm, whatever it is? Like that's a good sign.
They already missed that boat. Like I said, on Revolution, they should have put her at the main event.
I agree. I think they should definitely main event in Revolution.
I get that, but they didn't know. I get the not knowing. Maybe the layout that day was just good. The culmination of the storyline was bigger and better than they thought. I get it. They're allowed to make that one mistake.
Yep.
But
I don't know where she will land. To be honest,
depends on the story too.
But yeah, and also it will depend a lot on whatever they're doing with all the other storylines because we don't know how these things are gonna heat up. But
is the title still going to be in a briefcase? That'll play a lot into it.
Yes.
What's going on with the FTR, rated R, blah blah blah, whatever?
Is Mina coming in to avenge Mariah May, and that becomes a story for Toni going forward?
Is Mariah May gonna come back, and
so there's a lot they could do. It just depends.
I think they should either open. I would have Toni Storm open the show, and have everyone else freaking chase the carrot.
Try to follow that act
because
after that.
they're gonna chug a Red Bull and have some pre-workout or whatever the hell their ritual is, and they're gonna hang and bang in the ring. And I can't wait. I'm gonna be there, and I need to talk to you guys because there's a couple other shows I want to go to.
Okay,
all right. I think we should be trying to close now, but I gotta say something that happened a couple yesterday. They had Stephanie. It's talking about men versus women. They had Stephanie go into the octagon at UFC because they have a show in Mexico City tonight, Saturday 29th, 2025. So they had her show her moves to the men that are gonna be in the card tonight, and she was doing her move, that alone tells you how much they're like really pushing this. I mean, I'm so happy, to be honest, for Stephanie, right? But this shows you where these guys think they have to move this. They're putting her on the UFC sphere as well as they're putting because of course they're the same company, but this is gonna be the in the Mexico City, so they had her go and do the rounds against the men, right?
The fact that they're looked at as the same company is a big deal. Like that's the real bosses now putting their stamp on Steph.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. She's not an NXT fighter. She's not a WWE superstar. She is a TKO star.
Representative.
Yep.
And that's big.
Huge. And it used to be like a huge ick. Oh, so what are you into? Oh, I love Notre Dame football. I'm a big New York Giants fan, and I'm all about wrestling.
All icks.
So that's like so that's like the triple crown of icks. You're like, I don't like the other. And not no more, but very much less now. Wrestling is accepted more. You've got the Saturday night main events. You've got the pomp and circumstance of Mania. You've got the All In and the excitement of the Forbidden Door. Like, wrestling is in a good spot, and I think some of our performers that happen to be women should be looked at as performers that happen to be women, not, oh, hey, we're going to put the women's matches here and we're going to put the men's matches here. It should just be, all right, rack and stack. Who's pushing the envelope? Who's going to do whatever? We're going to have some lull matches. We're going to have a tag team match to calm everyone down, and then we're going to hit the main event.
The last thing I got to say, yeah. Really, Elier has hit it on the head. And I think the way to do that, the way that we're going to get there, is we have to give a certain amount of deference and respect to that previous generation. And not Vince's generation of women, not the Stephanie McCool, not the Stacy Keibler, not the Trish Stratus. I love them. They're not the ones. I'm talking about Mickie James. I'm talking about Molly Holly. I'm talking about Jazz. I'm talking about Melina. I'm talking about ODB. I'm talking about Victoria. I'm talking about these women that laid the groundwork recently that are still up and on their feet. I need to see them come back and give their knowledge to these girls. I need them to give their knowledge to this business, to the boys. I need to see them in the right positions. I don't want to see Mickie James getting kicked off of LFG for Michelle McCool. I'm sorry. Michelle's great. She was a great talent, but compared to Mickie James, she is second rate. She just is. Sorry, best. Taker. Yeah. Love you, brother. But your wife does not top Mickie James' knowledge and her and what she has done in the business. And I want to see
what she
these
still
women.
Does.
Correct. I want to see these women get the correct opportunities to give back. And Mickie James is giving back. She's working at OVW. She is doing LFG. She's trying wherever she can. Jazz is out there trying to agent and do stuff for NWA and whatnot. They're out there. They're doing these things. But I think these women need to be given the proper opportunities. If Jamie Noble can work in the back, if the Hurricane can work in the back, if Nick Aldis can go from being a world champ to being a GM over there, please, let's find places for the Gail Kims of the world. Let's find places for these women to come in and inform the process so that we can get to exactly what Elier is talking about.
Yeah, to you guys' points, and for me to close, I think that I know JT might have something to say, but I think that the whole point of empowering, it's not only she's won the title, it's also the producing part. It's because that is so vital to everything. The understanding of your own craft has to come from the back as well. Like, it cannot be left to, okay, so I'm going to give you 2 minutes to say something. I'm going to let you in a 15-minute match. No, it has to be the creativity, the creation of everything has to come also from the production side. And for that to happen, the women have to be part of that. And it's with everything. And the same thing with representation. It has to be in both parts of the spectrum of wrestling. So production and the talent in the ring. All right, guys, I think that we have covered this good enough. I think that there's something that we were all very passionate about, and we finally got to do this show, and I really appreciate it. Everybody, please give your socials where they can follow you. And just thank you everybody for listening to the show and watching this. If you're listening to a podcast on the podcast, or if you're watching this on YouTube, please give it a like. Please give us a follow. This is something that we put in a lot of effort into, and we really appreciate everybody coming here and listening to the show. Elier, go ahead.
Right on. Hey, thanks for checking us out here. Elier, and our socials, NSMC _podcast and No Shave Man Cave _title belts, and then No Shave Man Cave and all the other socials, Instagram, Twitter, X, Blue Sky, and email noshavemancave@gmail.com. Where you at, Outlaw?
At Justin Harvey 75 across all social media except Snapchat. I'm only saving that for your mom.
Okay, wow.
And let's not forget, Justin's got the MMM show. Check him out wherever you pick up your podcasts and YouTube shows. The Triple M Show, hosted by Outlaw.
My name is Toni Allen. I am an editor. You can find me at Toni St. Allen. I got it this time, right? Toni St. Allen in everywhere. And as you know, just again, Please like, share, and subscribe. Please, Elier, take us out.
Right on. Thank you to all of our service members and first responders. Thank you so much for what you do. Please continue to be safe and get your ass home. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we'll see you on the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor.